You are standing at the bank counter in early 2026, watching the teller print the statement. For years, two Social Security deposits landed every month. Hers, predictable as the electric bill. Then one month, only one arrives. That is the moment widowhood becomes visible in dollars. The household does not keep both checks. One benefit stops completely, while the mortgage, property tax, insurance, utilities, and repairs keep marching in. And now the survivor faces income loss, tax changes, and a claiming decision at the worst possible time. But the missing check is only the first part of the widow's penalty. Harold Briggs here. I am a retired Ohio banker, and for decades I watched couples walk into a branch with tidy folders, balanced checkbooks, and one dangerous belief. They believe survivor benefits were an extra check. They are not. In this chapter, you will know three things before grief ever puts a form in front of you. What happens to monthly income, what happens to taxes, and what claiming decision should never be made blindly. That is why I do not call this death planning. I call it love planning. Because the goal is not to predict the hardest day. The goal is to spare the surviving spouse from learning federal rules while signing funeral papers, closing accounts, and trying to breathe. The first rule is simple enough to fit on one line, but it changes almost every retired couple's math. Here is the rule that surprises people at the kitchen table. A person may qualify for more than one Social Security benefit, but generally collects only one at a time. So if one spouse receives $2,000 a month and the other receives $1,200 a month, the household may look like it has $3,200 coming in. Then one spouse dies. The survivor does not usually keep $2,000 plus $1,200. The smaller benefit stops. The survivor generally keeps the larger check. That means $3,200 can become $2,000. Same kitchen, same roof, same driveway. But now there is a $1,200 monthly hole that does not politely disappear with the person who died. The mortgage or rent may still be there. Property taxes still come due. The car insurance, utilities, prescriptions, repairs, groceries, and Medicare costs still land on the calendar. This is why the one-check rule matters before there is a crisis. Tonight, write down both benefit amounts. Circle the larger one. Then compare that one number to the real monthly bills of the household, because that circled number may become the survivor's income floor. And the size of that one surviving check may have been decided years earlier by the person who is no longer there. Quick pause. My ebook, You Earned It Twice, gives you 52 plain English calls to make about Social Security, Medicare, taxes, and household bills. It's the first link in the description. That circled number is not random. For survivor benefits, Social Security looks at what the deceased worker was receiving, or what that worker was entitled to receive. That is the anchor. So now imagine the higher earner turns 62 and claims early. The check starts sooner, yes, but it is permanently reduced. If that person dies first, that smaller check may become the survivor's main income for the rest of their life. That is the bad path. A decision made for cash flow at 62 can become a widow's budget at 78. Now turn the picture around. If the higher earner waits, the worker's benefit can grow. In many cases, delaying up to age 70 increases the monthly check. If that higher earner dies first, the survivor may step into a larger benefit than they would have had otherwise. Same marriage, same work record, different filing age. That is why this is not a one-person decision. The person who says, "I want my check now," may not be the person who pays the longest price. In many households, the spouse not claiming has the most at stake. But even after a spouse dies, the survivor still faces a second timing decision. And this one may be irreversible. Here is the second timing decision. A widow or widower can generally claim survivor benefits as early as age 60. If the survivor is disabled, that can be as early as age 50. And if the survivor is caring for the deceased worker's qualifying child, the age rules can be different again. So yes, age 60 is possible, but possible is not the same as painless. Claiming survivor benefits at 60 can shrink the payment to about 71.5% of the full survivor amount. Not for a few months, not until full retirement age. In many cases, that reduced survivor benefit does not automatically step up later just because you get older. That is the trap. The check arrives early, but the discount can follow you for life. Now clear up one common misunderstanding. People often hear a 10-year marriage rule and think it applies to every widow or widower. It does not. That 10-year rule is mainly for divorce survivor claims. For a current spouse, the marriage requirement is generally much shorter, often around 9 months, with important exceptions. Divorce survivors may qualify if the marriage lasted at least 10 years, and remarriage after age 60 generally does not block survivor eligibility. These details matter because grief compresses time. Bills arrive. Advice gets loud. The real danger is not just choosing early, it is being told there is no other choice. Here is the switch almost nobody explains clearly. Survivor benefits and your own retirement benefits are separate benefit types. That means some widows and widowers can claim one first, then switch to the other later. That one sentence can change the whole plan. For example, a survivor might take a widow benefit first, while delaying their own retirement benefit so it keeps growing. Or the reverse may be possible. Take a personal retirement benefit first, then switch to a larger survivor benefit at full retirement age. The point is not that one path is always better. The point is that the door may exist. Why does that matter? Because Social Security rewards timing. A smaller check for a few years can sometimes protect a larger check for the rest of your life. That is cause and effect, not a loophole. But do not build a plan from a rumor at the counter. Age, work income, benefit amounts, and filing dates all matter. And if you claim survivor benefits before full retirement age while still working, the earnings limit can withhold benefits once you earn above the annual threshold, which changes each year. So the question is not, can I claim? It is, which benefit first and when? And before anyone plans around help with funeral costs, there is one number that still stuns people. That number is $255, not $2,000, not $5,000, not enough to bury anyone in most towns in America. Social Security's lump sum death payment is $255, and it generally goes to an eligible surviving spouse who is living with the worker, or in some cases, an eligible child. So if someone at the kitchen table says, Social Security helps pay for the funeral, pause right there. The real help is usually the monthly survivor benefit, not the lump sum, and even that does not arrive by magic. Here is the trap. Survivor claims often require an appointment, either by phone or in person. You may call ready to file, with the death certificate in hand, and be told the next available appointment is weeks away. That delay matters when one income has already stopped and the bills have not. Before you call, gather the basics. Marriage certificate, divorce decree if you are claiming on an ex-spouse, Social Security numbers, birth information, bank details, and possibly tax or work information. Put them in one folder. And if an answer sounds wrong, do not argue. Ask, where does that appear in SSA guidance? Then ask for a supervisor before you leave. But even if the survivor gets every Social Security rule right, the tax system can still make the second year feel like a second loss. Then January comes. The first tax year may still have some breathing room, because the surviving spouse can often file a final joint return for the year of death. But after that, many widows and widowers move from married filing jointly to single filing status, unless special dependent child rules apply. That one word, single, can change the whole math. The standard deduction is smaller. The tax brackets are narrower. The income thresholds that affect how much of Social Security becomes taxable can become less forgiving. And Medicare premium surcharges can hit at levels that feel shockingly low compared with what the couple was used to. So the survivor may have less money coming into the house, but each additional dollar can be taxed harder. Picture it. One Social Security check disappears. Maybe one pension is reduced. The grocery bill drops a little, but the mortgage, property tax, insurance, utilities, and car payment do not politely cut themselves in half. Then the tax return says, in effect, you are now one taxpayer, with one set of brackets. That is the widow's penalty hiding in plain sight. The planning question is simple. Ask a tax professional, what would my tax look like if I were filing single on the survivor's income? Not someday, before the decision is forced. So why does no one sit couples down and walk them through all of this before the loss happens? Because the honest answer is uncomfortable. No one owns the whole picture. Social Security sees an application. It checks ages, earnings records, marriage rules, survivor rules. It can process a claim, but it is not built to map your household tax bracket 5 years from now. A tax preparer sees one filing year, maybe last year, maybe this year. They are not usually paid to model which Social Security decision will echo through the survivor's 80s. A bank sees deposits. 2 checks become 1. The balance falls faster. But a teller, even someone paying close attention, is not given the role or the permission to step into grief and redesign a family's retirement. That is the villain here. Not a person, a gap. The missing ingredient is often one informed conversation before crisis. That conversation can fit on 1 sheet of paper, so make the 1 sheet. Write both Social Security benefit amounts. Circle the larger one because that is the check most likely to remain. List the real monthly costs: mortgage or rent, utilities, insurance, medicine, food, taxes. Then write 2 questions in bold. What happens to our taxes when one of us is gone? And when should each of us claim? Last, make sure both spouses know where the accounts, passwords, bills, and contacts are. That is how you close the gap. Not with fear, with preparation. Planning for widowhood is not dwelling on death. It is sparing the person you love from negotiating from panic. If you want more plain English retirement protection guides like this, subscribe to the channel. In the comments, tell me what surprised you most, or whether you know the survivor's income in your own household. Thank you for watching.